What's up, Desktopers? Xavier Wills here for Desktop Bodybuilding, and we are back with another video and another weekly bodybuilding podcast with Michael Galley, where we cover all the top bodybuilding issues from the week just gone. We've got Dexter Jackson versus Shawn Ray. Their debate heats up over social media as they go at each other. Gregg Valentino almost drowns in his own blood. That's the man whose arms exploded. Also, what are the odds that the Mr Olympia in 2020 actually goes ahead or is on the same date that we normally see it on? All that and more come up in this podcast, guys. And if you like this content, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Also, subscribe and hit the notification bell button. That way you'll be notified of every video that goes up from myself, Xavier Wills at Desktop Bodybuilding. But on with the video. Welcome back to Desktop Bodybuilding. I'm joined by Michael Galley once again for our weekly bodybuilding podcast or video or whatever you want to call it. Mick, how are you doing this week?
I'm good, Zaves. I'm glad to be back on episode 2. Happy to make it here. Hey, I'll just show you quickly because you know I love my food and I love my cereal. And now that I'm over in the States, it's just there's literally the whole aisle is cereal. So I got this one today, which is
Dinosaur eggs
in oatmeal, which I've never in my life seen before, and I know we don't have it in Australia. So that's what I'll be having for tomorrow morning for breakfast. So I'm very excited.
Are the eggs like the dinosaur eggs? Do they have chocolate inside?
It doesn't look like it. It looks like some sort of like Lucky Charms. You've got those little sugary things in there. So you've got a few dinosaur eggs and you've got a couple of like little dinosaurs. But I saw it and I thought, you know what? I have to buy it. I have to have it. And yeah, even though we're like semi-lockdown, we can obviously still leave for, pretty much the same as you guys, leave for food and things like that. So I did a bit of a stock up today and got a fair bit of crap actually.
Yeah, I bet. Well, for people that don't know, Mick is literally a 12-year-old stuck in a 40-something-year-old's body in terms of what he does with his nutrition and his diet. He's just dangerous. When it comes to off-season, like you're a 6-time Mr. Australia, but in off-season, you eat Ben and Jerry's every day.
It's not pretty. No, that's another thing. Ben and Jerry's over here is, even with our dollar being bad, it's still cheaper. And there's heaps more different flavors over here. It's like I was meant to be living in America.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you are now. So anyway, let's get into some of these bodybuilding topics and we'll steer clear of some of all the other stuff that's going on in the world right now because, well, we're going to talk about it a little bit on one of these topics, but I'm trying to avoid it a little bit because, man, some of this, like, I was all right with all the, stuff and seeing all the stuff online because I was interested in it, like what's going to happen. But at the moment, man, it's overwhelming me a little bit. And I'm just like, and all the successful people who have given advice on this have literally said, like, I saw one thing yesterday, said create, don't just consume non-stop all this negativity. And I'm like, yeah, good idea. Like, don't jump online and watch the latest video on the health minister and what they're saying. Like, yeah, stay up to date, but don't just like bombard yourself with it. Because, man, like those first days, I was like, need to find out more. School's going to close. This is going to happen. Like, so I'm trying to stay away from it. So let's stick to bodybuilding and let's go straight into Dexter Jackson versus Shawn Ray. I've done a video on this before, but it was based off what Shawn Ray said on Valuetainment with Patrick Bet-David and based on what then Dexter Jackson's response was. And it wasn't too crazy. I mean, Dexter said he would smoke Shawn Ray if they were both in their prime. And Shawn Ray basically said Dexter wouldn't place top 6 in his era, in his prime. Now, I think both are slightly, in my opinion, too skewed to their side of the story. I don't think Dexter Jackson would completely smoke Shawn Ray. And I think Dexter Jackson in Shawn Ray's era would definitely, in his prime, think about 2008 Dexter Jackson or any other version that has been very, very good, I think would definitely place top 6 because we saw, tremendous competitors. But that's like, I think the way Shawn looks at it is if all these guys were in their absolute best ever in those Olympias. Because when you actually look back at, just say a 99 Olympia or a 2000 Olympia, when you look at the 6th place finisher, it might be a Chris Cormier or whatever, but it might be a Chris Cormier that's a little bit off, and that's why he was 6th and not 2nd or 3rd or whatever. What are your thoughts on the whole situation? And we'll actually go into and actually read out what these guys actually said on their most recent post, which was actually much heavier than what they actually said on Patrick Bet-David's Valuetainment show.
It's getting heated. It's a good debate actually because you've got a lot of people weighing in with their opinions on it. It is quite interesting. Neither smokes each other. Do you know what I mean? Like Dexter doesn't smoke Shawn and vice versa. It's extremely closely matched because there's similar sort of physiques in a way. I've been very lucky to have seen Shawn in the 90s. And obviously I've seen Dexter throughout his career as well and compete many times, especially around his peak. I'm a fan of, I love Shawn's physique. I thought Shawn was fantastic. I think Shawn's peak years were probably 93, 94, 95, 96, around that time. And I did actually get to see Shawn, albeit not on the Olympia stage, in 94. He flew out to Australia a week after the Olympia and guest posed. And admittedly, he maintained his condition really, really well. And to this day, apart from Dorian Yates was the other person I saw guest pose once that blew me away. But Shawn's physique that day was just faultless, unbelievably faultless. It's almost like one of those things where you've got to break him down body part by body part, which I tried to do. And that kind of separates him a little bit, I guess, that way. Like, if you look at calves, I mean, Shawn's calves were actually pretty damn good. The other thing I noticed with Shawn was cross striations in his quads, which Dexter doesn't have.
Yeah.
I think hams and glutes, they were pretty matched up. Shoulders, probably Dexter. Chest matched up. Abs matched up. Back, Shawn at his peak. Shawn's back was absolutely fantastic. He had the Christmas tree. He had everything there, the thickness, the width. It's a toss-up though, isn't it? It's one of those things you can't actually judge until they're on stage in front of you.
Side by side.
Side by side. It's that close between the two. And they're very similar in height. Although Dexter does outweigh him by 20 to 30 pounds, I think you've also got to remember, in Shawn's heyday, he beat Paul Dillette, Nestor Elson-Buddy, Flex Wheeler, Chris Cormier, Kevin Laveroni. All those guys outweighed Shawn by 30, 40, 50 pounds. So he was a giant killer back in the day. Both posed unbelievably as well. Like, you look at them do their quarter turns, their posing routine. They were both really, really professional.
Yeah.
But things are getting heated. There's no doubt about it.
100%, yeah. And I think, when you say he beat Kevin Laveroni, beat all these other guys, and that's spectacular, and that is literally amazing, because you got to remember Kevin Laveroni and all these other guys were amazing. I think a spot on Kevin Laveroni, like a best ever Kevin Laveroni, which I don't even know if we saw the best ever Kevin Laveroni. I don't know if he ever reached his actual peak and potential, but I think that would beat probably the best ever Shawn Ray, maybe. What do you think on that?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I think, and this is open to debate as well, but I think Kevin's best appearances were 92 when he got second. Yep. Shawn was fourth. 96, although not completely shredded, he was absolutely massive. So that 96 Arnold's, he won. Shawn got fifth, I think. Another good one for Kevin was the 2000 Olympia, where he got second. For me, that was probably Kevin's best package, because he had a very athletic looking physique as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, he wasn't a pure muscle bound bodybuilder. Yeah. His routine was on, his condition was good. I think that year Shawn got fourth. So yeah, you're right. I think a spot on Kevin genetically as well was superior to Shawn's. There's no doubt about it.
For sure. And it's funny because you see a lot of these guys, and I'd love to see these guys like a 94 Shawn or a 92 Kevin. I'd love to see these guys literally on stage with today's bodybuilders to see the size discrepancy, to see how much smaller they were. Because we saw Kevin Laveroni when he came back, and he said the guys today are so much bigger. He literally said that. And
it's funny, like when he said that, like it's weird to me too, because back in the 90s, we were lucky in Australia, and I'm sure it was the same here. There was no social media. So the bodybuilders back then did a lot of guest posing. They were guest posing almost every weekend or every second weekend to make money. And that brought so much more people to the comps, because you don't see them. You don't see them except for magazines. So the guys that come out to Australia in the 90s, guys like Paul Dillette, Nestor Elson-Buddy, Jean-Pierre Fuchs, these guys were massive. They were really big.
They were big,
Even Lee Priest. Even Lee Priest was probably one of the biggest guys I've ever seen for pound for his height. Like, just crazy. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess, I mean, Kevin was there. He was standing next to him, so he'd know. But I still think we had some Dorian in real life was absolutely phenomenal. So, yeah.
I've got to say, sometimes the guys, even maybe 15 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, the muscle just sometimes seemed more impressive when you saw it in person. Like, you see a big Rami now, and it is a lot of muscle. And you see him in person, and you are freaked out, and you're like, wow, that's crazy. But unless he's crazy hard, which we hardly ever see from Robbie. We see him in good condition, but we don't ever see him in great condition. And you can't appreciate that muscle as much. I remember seeing, you see video of Ronnie Coleman, and you can just see how crazy that muscle is. Like, you just see it hanging, and it just looks hard, and it looks bubbly, but it still has that crispness to the muscle. And you can argue and say, oh, Jay Cutler didn't necessarily have that, but Jay was just so incredibly wide. Like, I remember seeing Jay backstage in 2007 at the IFB Nationals, and he walked past me, and I literally thought at first, I thought in my head, who's that massive fat guy walking around? Like, I thought it was another competitor that just must have been fat. Because I just had a quick glimpse, I was like, what? And the first look was this, I thought he must have been fat. And I turned around and I'm like, that's Jay Cutler. And his shoulders were just, you can't appreciate how big his shoulders are unless you see them in person, how wide his actual structure is, and then the amount of muscle that he actually holds on there to make it not look like he's stringy at all. He's just packed full of muscle. And there's not many guys like that you see now like that. I mean, you see a Kai Green, you see a Phil Heath, you see, Brandon Curry is still that sort of more bubbly without that real crispness to his muscles right now. And outside of that, you've got your Hardy Chupins and your William Bonacks and stuff, but you don't see as much of that as I think you saw in the past. Like you mentioned, a lot of those bodybuilders, your Lee Priests, your Kevin Lavronis and all that sort of stuff, while they didn't come in hard all the time, it still never, even when they were slightly off, it still seemed like they had some crazy muscle on their physique that, while they might not be as big as some of today's guys, some of them, I still think their muscle a lot of the time looked a little bit more impressive. But you still see the guys today, and you still see guys pop up where their muscle looks crazy impressive. But I don't know, what do you think of what I'm trying to get at?
No, I do agree with you a lot. I remember, like I said again, a lot of the guys I did see guest pose back in the day, they just did seem to have a denser look to them.
Yeah, denser. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, the skin looked differently wrapped around the muscle. And it's funny you should mention the names you just did about this era, because I thought the same, and I've thought a few times that it wasn't more to this year when I saw better photos of William Bonac, because parts of his body was that real dense, like popping sort of muscle look, and it just reminded me of just years ago, just a few of the poses he did. He just had that really hard, dense look.
Yeah.
That was impressive, because some of the others, it looks like, and I don't know if Ramy kind of done this at the start, it looks like they kind of grew too fast, too quick, and the muscle has a different look to it. It just doesn't sit the same. Yeah. And I think a lot of them have got that sort of look, whether it be, like I said, too fast, whether or not they're taking different things that, or to the extreme. They may be taking things a little bit more to the extreme. I don't know. I'm not in that sort of circle to sort of know those things, but there is a different look on a lot of them. That's for sure.
And I've got a video as well with Chris Psycho Lewis, who was the trainer of Sean Roden when he actually won the Olympia in 2018, I think it was. Yep. And it's basically, we talk about Slyn and what he thinks of it and if it's necessary and all that sort of stuff. And they'll be coming out around the time of this video, either just before or just after. So make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell button so you don't miss out on that one. And it's really interesting, some of the stuff he had to say as well. But let's get into what these guys actually said about each other, because we're going pretty long on this one. So Shawn Ray posted, we'll go into Dexter Jackson's post first, because he posted this on the 26th of March. He posted these two photos, which you can see on the screen now. He says, debate time at Shawn Ray IFBB Pro. Said he'd beat me in his prime. I'm the same weight as him in these photos. My third year in the pros. Haven't reached my prime yet. Y'all be the judge, lol. I know we are fans. Put that shit aside and judge what you see. Since he runs his mouth so much, I thought I'd let y'all judge. I always tell him he's only won 2 pro shows in his 13-year career, lol. And don't compare me if you've never won an Olympia. So he went pretty hard. I mean, I was surprised by this, because in the valuetainment thing, he said, I was going to go hard on Shawn, but Shawn sort of had a bit of a, not a rebuttal, but sort of pulled back a little bit and said, hey, I didn't mean this about Dexter, blah, blah, blah. But what he actually did say in the valuetainment thing, he did say Dexter in his prime would not be top 6 in my era. So I don't know if that means any year of the Olympia that Shawn Ray competed or what he means by that exactly, but I think that was too far-fetched. But let's go into what Shawn actually posted. Let me pull this up. So he posted up this photo only 8 hours ago. So Shawn posted this up with not much of a caption or anything like that. He actually shared this, so someone else posted it, but he shared it out and is more than happy to put it up there. He put up, says on the photo, as you can see it, knows how to pose, no synthol, no gyno, no bubble gut, wasn't a fluke, never blamed a guru, didn't need Charles Glass, and then pointing at the calves, no implants. So that's pretty, like, because there was obviously a talk about Dexter having calf implants, and then he obviously trains with Charles Glass. So this is obviously directed at Dexter Jackson, and Shawn Ray was more than happy to repost that. So what do you think about what both of these guys had to say and the post they put up?
Yeah, it's a tough one to get in between, isn't it? But I think Shawn saying Dexter wouldn't place or might just place in the top 10. I think we all know Dexter at his peak would have definitely been in the top 5 or 6 of any Olympia.
He would have been battling,
Probably higher. He would have beat guys like Lee, he would have beat Galley, he would have beat Chris Cormier most of these years too. So Dexter would have been right up there. That's no doubt at all. That comparison picture, however, that we've spoken about, I feel didn't do either of them justice really, because neither were in their peak. That was 2001 Shawn. That wasn't his peak.
Yeah.
And it was a hard photo to judge on because of the angle, and it just looked like it was blowing up a little bit, not by Photoshop, but just how it's been printed out and taken a picture of.
Yeah.
But Shawn coming back, I mean, that was posted today, so they're not knowing Shawn the way he is. They're not giving in, are they? They're just going to keep going back and forth.
It's not letting up.
Hey, everyone's in lockdown. There's no comps on, so maybe this will give us something to talk about.
Man, I've done more like this bodybuilder or this person versus this person lately, and I'm like, I need to stop doing all these videos, but hey, it's what's happening in bodybuilding right now. But let us know in the comments what you think. Who would have won between Shawn Ray and Dexter Jackson in their absolute prime? Whatever you think that is, whether you think it's 2008 Dexter Jackson when he won the Olympia, whether you think it's 94 Shawn Ray, whatever. I think 94 Shawn Ray was spectacular. I watched his posing routine the other day. And I want to actually say as well, I did say in my last video, I can't remember exactly how I worded it because I only quickly edit them and watch them back quickly. But I did say that I agreed with Dexter that Shawn Ray didn't really used to get shredded glutes. I was totally wrong on that. There was years where he definitely had shredded glutes. Other years where, as you can see in those photos before, where his glutes weren't hard. They were there, but they weren't. You'd never say they were shredded glutes. So there was years, yes, but I think from what I'd seen in the past, I'd seen photos of him where it's like, oh yeah, they're there, but they're not shredded. But I was wrong on that one, so I want to totally rebuttal that. And I had a few people comment in the comments as well saying, hey, he did have shredded glutes. And I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
So
he probably had him most years, but 94, that hamstring and glute separation was absolutely next level.
Yeah,
and his posing routine, I still think, is one of the greatest ever in that year.
Yeah, he was spectacular. Let's move on to our next story because we're already 16, 17 minutes in. Gregg Valentino. Now, he had surgery and there was a complication, and basically he started drowning in his own blood because he had surgery on his neck to remove cancer, and he has a lot of cancer apparently around there from what he was saying. And I think it was actually tonsil cancer or something that he had. That's the initial cancer he had. So he was on an interview with Dave Palumbo recently, and he basically said he was drowning in his own blood, which was sounded really intense. And when you actually watch the video, I've got the link in the description. He sounds like the Godfather. He's like, Dave. I don't know. Have you watched that?
Yeah, I did. I actually watched it today. So
yeah, it's pretty intense, man. Like, it's pretty crazy how he's gone from, going to get a checkup a few weeks ago, and we've sort of followed it through the After Hours podcast on RX Muscle. But he's gone in for a checkup. Oh, they want to check out this, and they're not too concerned or whatever. To going to, it's cancer. To going to, I've got to get surgery. I've got to get another surgery. I'm drowning in my own blood. So it's crazy how quick these things can happen. And I just basically wanted to bring it up just to say we're sending our prayers out to Gregg and hope that he's fully fit and he's, gotten rid of all the cancer, because it's so many people have been affected by cancer. I have. I'm probably sure you have. I don't even know. But it's just one of those things. It's just a horrible disease. And yeah, just praying for Gregg. And it's just crazy how, you got to say, the doctors were probably pretty negligent, and he actually said the doctors were being rude to him. No one he knew was allowed in because of the whole, what's going on in the world right now with everything and stuff. So it sounds like it's pretty intense, and I think he ripped the cords out, and basically went to run out of hospital, I think, after it, because he was freaking out. So pretty crazy. But yeah, a guy, I suppose, who would blow his arms up to that level, it has to be pretty crazy anyway. So.
Did you see the scar on his neck?
Yeah, it's a huge scar. Yeah.
Yeah, and like you said, his voice. He was very. I mean, obviously with a throat surgery, your voice is going to go too. But when he was explaining, when he was sitting down and all of a sudden throwing up blood, but he was pulling out these big chunks. I mean, that would be a panicking situation to be in.
Oh man, I would
'Cause
panic big time.
so absolutely, because you actually don't know what's going on. You wouldn't know. You'd be like, yeah. So yeah, you're right. All prayers out to him. And I mean, he's on RX within 2 days doing an interview. So good on him.
Yeah. He strikes me as a guy that was sort of always be on the go, at least doing something. So I feel like he wouldn't do well sitting in hospital bed for a long time or anything.
I couldn't imagine that. Not at all. No.
Now let's discuss the 2020 Mr. Olympia. There's been a lot of talk going on around this. I've seen videos that Chris Aceto's been doing like daily Instagram lives and getting people on like Jay Cutler, and they're all sort of been talking about. I saw Sean Roden and Dexter Jackson doing an Instagram live together, and they're talking about it. And Dexter's saying, no, they can't change the date of the Olympia, and it'd be too much to do. But there's a lot, when you really think about it, Las Vegas is probably hurting more than any place just about in the world right now, because it's based on tourism. Like they were even saying that I think 400 or 600,000 people in Las Vegas could lose their job. Like that is insanity, because if people aren't traveling, people aren't going to be going to Vegas. There are obviously people that live in Vegas, but who's going to go out and it's a party city. And when you got restrictions on, you can't do any of that sort of stuff. All you can do is go buy groceries. It almost shuts down Las Vegas. So it makes me wonder that if the Olympia was to go ahead in how many months' time it is, 5, 6 months, whatever it is, it's hard to imagine Vegas would be fully functioning and everything would be up and going properly by then if this thing continues for another 3 to 4, 5 months, So what do you think about the Olympia? What could happen? Will they move the contest? Will it be on the date it's meant to be on? Will it be later in the year? What do you think is going to actually happen with this 2020 Mr. Olympia?
There's so many factors involved, Xavier, like so many. And I've been thinking about it the last few days as a potential, like we've had booths there ourselves as a sponsor. You got to factor in all these sort of things. The Olympia needs to make money. There's no doubt about it. But if you look at Vegas, how it is now, imagine the amount of money, say, let's just pick Caesar's Palace. Imagine how much money per day that place is losing. It'd be astronomical. So you combine all those hotels together, it'd be through the roof. But the thing is with the Olympia, they've already postponed the Olympic Games. Okay? So if you look at something like that, I mean, admittedly, that's June or July, but if they're willing to postpone something as big as the Olympics, I mean, they can do it with anything else. The only problem with all this is the guys need enough time to prep. It'd be hard to prep for a show not knowing, with uncertainty. I mean, I don't care who you are. If you said, okay, we don't know if the Olympia is going to be on, but this is the day that we're still hoping for. So could you imagine prepping for that? That'd be really, no, I don't know if I could do it. That'd be very, very hard. But then also on top of that, as a sponsor, say if we were to do it again, would we commit a booth to the expo not knowing?
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot of money, man. And it's a lot of money to put down as a booth. But then also in that, I don't even know if you can book accommodation yet in Vegas. I don't know if you'd able to even book accommodation early and airfares, all that sort of stuff. There's all those sort of things to consider. But also on top of that, again, you've got Dan Solomon and then Jake Wood, the new owner of the Olympia. They've got to start a huge marketing campaign as well. So they've got to put a lot of money into the marketing. There's I don't know, man. There's a lot of factors to it. There really are.
And the thing is as well, like, how are you going to put money into the marketing and then go, oh, okay, no, we've got to change it. It's not on now. And you've got people flying in there that are people that maybe have booked their flights if they're able to at that stage or whatever. But and people aren't going to want to fly internationally if we find out 2 months before, like, yep, it's going ahead on the right date, and no one's going to book now. So if I was making a trip, I don't think hardly anyone from Australia, if it is on the date that it's meant to be on, will be actually going to the Olympia. As much as I would encourage people to do it, if it is safe to fly at that times and all that sort of stuff, it's just, I'm not, I'm definitely not going. My partner's having a baby too, so that obviously rules me out anyway. But it's just hard to imagine to see this actually go ahead. Now, obviously, with this whole thing, now it can break out again, so maybe they will start holding events, maybe sporting events and whatnot, with no crowds, because obviously gathering 20,000 people or however many thousand people in one tight space is a bit different to having a sporting event on with judges only, maybe spaced out, and then competitors on stage. There's a lot less risk if there's 100 people in the venue compared to 20,000. So maybe they will do it do something, government wise and everything to say, okay, we'll allow these to go ahead. Obviously the sporting events in America are huge, and you can still obviously get a lot of revenue coming in through TV deals. Like the AFL TV deals is worth, I think it's several billions of dollars over however many years. So that's why the AFL and NRL really tried to go ahead when they did, because they get that first installment payment of the year. I think the AFL, they get a quarter of their yearly TV revenue when they host that first game. So they had the first round of the season, and then now's the time to call it off. And they got that first installment, which is, I think, I'm probably wrong here, but it's about $60 million. So that's huge amounts of money. So maybe it might be an Olympia where there is no crowd, which would be insanely weird. Or they hold it without the expo, because we know the expo, the Arnold Classic Expo in Columbus was one of the first things to be forced to be shut down, basically. So because they were going to get 200,000, 250,000 people through that expo from different countries and everything like that. So I think the Olympia, it's hard to imagine, even if the cases go right down and everything, it's hard to imagine them saying, yep, go ahead with the expo. There's still cases around. And I can't imagine it will be totally eradicated in 5 months' time. Like, what do you think about
that? It's so up in the air because things are changing daily. I mean, we were told yesterday that let's say, semi-lockdown, well, in Texas it is on for all of April. So it's on till the end of April, then they'll reassess. Even though Trump had said maybe around Easter, but I mean, he's got a tough job. I couldn't imagine what any prime minister or president is going through at the moment. So he's done that for the safety of the American citizens, which is fantastic, to push it in the April. Then they'll decide again. So if they decide to go into May, I'd say if it goes into May, they'd have to really consider cancelling it. It just doesn't give people enough time. But then on top of that, Xavier, like you said, let's just pick Australia, for instance. Our dollar at the moment is really struggling with the economy. If that doesn't pick up and our dollar stays around, at the moment with 60 cents to one American dollar, if it stays around 55 to 60, no one's going to have the money to come from Australia.
No, no way.
They're just not, mate. It's too expensive. And I have a feeling if things do get back on track, I do have a feeling that the airlines will put their prices up to start with. I think they will bump it up to how it used to be 10 years ago or so ago, where to come to America was damn expensive.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm just looking at it now. I mean, only weeks ago it was 66 cents. It went down to 57. Now it's up to 61, but 61 is still low. Like, I remember when they basically almost evened out. Like, I don't know when that was, 5 years. I'll have a look at the 5-year calendar. Yeah, but we're up at, around 80 cents. And then if you go back a bit further, like our dollar was even stronger than the US dollar. Like, I think around 2012 it was about $1.07. So it was $1.07, now down to 61 cents. And it's just crazy.
I was here in 2012 when it was, I think it was $1.10 at one stage even, which was unreal. And I've also been here when we've been down to 52 cents.
Yuck.
So it's actually less than that when you add on taxes. Like, California taxes are ridiculous. Plus, you've got to tip. If you're at restaurants and things like that, you tip as well. Yeah. So it brings it down to about 45 almost, or 46. So they were bad times. But there's so many factors involved here, mate. And like you said before with the Olympia, if you want to go ahead without the Expo, they kind of need that revenue coming in for all the prize money to do with the Olympia as well. So, yeah, I guess everyone... And Tony would probably be involved in this as well with that when it comes to talking. I guess there's going to have to be a lot of talks going on, and it's going to be, for now, it's going to depend on what happens in the end of April. Because if they extend it...
I honestly think, obviously, if they're going to have it in Vegas, if they're set on having it in Vegas, the way things are looking with the current landscape, pushing it back to November or December might be the best thing for it, because if they can still do the Expo, if they can still run the contest as normal and still have time for guys to qualify, time to work all this stuff out, it's just so hard for me to imagine it's going to happen on that date in Vegas with the Expo. I just cannot see it. Like, the way things are looking, can't see it. Like, and we have heard, certain areas of the world have improved, and they're not getting as many new cases, but it's probably because so many people have been infected and they've locked things down. But if they've still got 50,000 cases or 20,000 cases in certain countries, and they go, oh, okay, let's go back to normal, let's go back to work, I'm sure there's going to be a second outbreak. There's going to be something else that comes out, or there could even be a mutation of this whole thing. So for me, it's hard to see it happening on the same date. I pray it does. I think it would be awesome if it does. But regardless, if things can go back to normal, we can get some comps happening, and then we can have the Olympia. I think that would be next level awesome. And maybe some of these smaller comps are able to run earlier than the Olympia because the Olympia is such a big thing and they want the Expo. So maybe it will give them 2 months to run these other contests. I'm sure Sergio actually mentioned in the interview I did with him just the other day, which should be, some of it should be up by the time this goes up. He even mentioned that he's like, guys like, you know, people from the New York Pro, you know, like Steve Weinberger, the Pittsburgh Pro, all that sort of stuff. They're not going to just be like, oh, we'll let our comp go. They're the guys that run the whole thing. They're not going to want to miss out on their money. So those shows are all going to be stacked in as well as all these other shows that are going to be getting pushed back. So we might be seeing 2 open bodybuilding pro shows on a weekend, on certain weekends, which we actually saw with the California and Puerto Rican pro. But they should be pretty stacked shows because so many guys are going to want to qualify. But will there be other guys going, nah, let's sit out 2020. Let's concentrate on 2021 because this is just, I can't train properly. I can't get to the shops properly. I don't have the money because I'm not training people or whatever. Who knows what will happen? I think some of these small divisions will be more impacted by that. But I think the top pros, I think people are reaching out to them saying, hey, come train here. Come do this. You know, like even if they're not meant to, I think they're being looked after by people a bit more than maybe some of these other divisions like bikini or whatever are being looked after. I don't know. That's just my view. But what do you think?
No, I agree with everything you've said as well. And I think if let's say worst case scenario, 220's cancelled altogether. Imagine the stack lineups we're going to have next year.
2021 would be crazy because 2020 was going to be crazy as it is.
Yes.
Like I was looking at some of these competitors that were competing and I was like, okay, well, they've all got to fit into some shows. I'm like, we're going to have some crazy top 5s and top 10s even in some of these smaller shows and like New York Pro lineups. And like the New York Pro was so stacked. The Arnold Classic South America was stacked just from the guys we knew. And there was going to be guys that pop up, another 3-4 good guys that we didn't even know that were doing the show. So I'm so annoyed that this is happening just for being a fan of bodybuilding, but it is what it is. And there's worse things in the world, all that sort of stuff. But let's move on from that topic. Hope the 2020 Olympia goes ahead. And I just want to say, I feel for Dan Solomon because he got last year's rough luck with everything that was going on with Sean Roden and people dropping out of the Olympia and Phil not competing and all that sort of drama that he had. And now he's got this. And it's like, man, he can't catch a break. So,
no, Dan's good though, man. I thought, I know I was at the Olympia last year, even with those top names out, it was an amazing Olympia. The crowd, it was really stacked for the crowd. I thought it was fantastic. So I think Dan did a fantastic job. Now that Jake is on, I think it's going to be, if it goes ahead, it's going to be amazing. If not, all these guys together, you've got Arnold, you'll have Dan, you'll have Jake, you'll have all these guys putting their heads together. I'm sure that they're going through right now plans A, B, C, and D. They've got all these little scenarios ready. And yeah, it just, it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, and he's also got Arnold Schwarzenegger saying that he thought the bigger movie, which he produced, is stupid at the Arnold Classic. So I just want to mention that because I put a video out going up not long before this one, basically saying that, you know, Arnold went on to say that he thought the bigger movie was stupid. So I just want to sort of plug that video, and then I'll also get Sergio Sergio Oliva Jr.'s actual comments and what he thought about it because he played his dad Sergio Sr. in that movie. What did you think about the bigger movie? I'll just get your perspective on it because I don't know if you've seen it or not.
Yeah, I've only seen short clips, a lot of short clips of it actually. Obviously Callum played Arnold. Callum's an Aussie boy, so we all support him. I think you and I actually, that's right, that's a good story. We found Callum. We did. We said 5% of his shit, we'd be millionaires now.
Yeah, we probably would.
So actually, we'll just tell it quickly. 2013, Callum competed at the Southern Hemisphere, which we did a play-by-play with, and we both looked at each other and said, this kid is going to go a long way.
Yeah, which is in Queensland, Australia, and he wasn't the size he is now, but he had that look, man. He had that hair sort of sleek back. He had the nice physique, the pretty boy looks, and you could tell it looked easy for him on stage. Like, I don't even think he didn't win, did he? He got second, didn't he?
No, he got third.
Third, there you go. So, But he looked really good, and we're just like, this dude has the look. And I think I'd love to actually find the video. If I can find it, I'll insert it into this show where we basically said, like, he's going to be in movies, he's going to do all this sort of stuff. Yeah, and he was a no one at the time. 2013, he was not a no one, but he wasn't doing anything. He wasn't out there. And then he had that trip to America where he got signed by Muscular Development, did all that sort of stuff, and then basically just put his name on the map. And we predicted he has been in movies, he has made money, and he's done really well for himself. So
he's got a kick-ass YouTube and everything. But I think, let's face it, who else would have played Arnold? No, like Callum has got the jaw. He does. He looks like, even Arnold said that a few years ago when he was helping Callum pose in Gold's Gym in Venice.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that. So
yeah, I remember.
And I think, I don't know. I didn't have a problem with what I saw. I thought it was quite interesting. I don't know how much of the story was twisted a bit to make it better for viewing or something like that. But I'd have to watch the whole thing to make my mind up. But from what I saw, man, I thought it was all right.
Yeah. Well, I've actually got it, so maybe I'll send it to you or something. But another guy that could have played Arnold back in the day is Roland Kickinger. Do you remember him?
Yes. No, yeah, you're right. He actually did. He did something. He had something to do with Arnold on some sort of television. Yeah, years ago. Anyone who doesn't remember him, look up Roland. What's his surname?
Kickinger, I think it is. I'm putting photos of him up on this while it's going on as well, so people can actually see what he looks like.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember. He did. Pretty sure he did do some sort of television. God, I can't remember the name. Something to do with it in the 90s. It would have been.
A guy that actually reminds me of Arnold these days is Wesley Visses. Do you know Wesley?
Yes. Yeah. The classic guy.
Bro, I love his accent. Like, there's a lot of foreign accents, but I don't like and I can't understand. But I love his. Like, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like he's putting it on, but I don't think he is. I think it's just the way he speaks. Like, I just love it. He's like, "What's up, guys? It's Wesley Visses here." I'm like, oh, that's great.
I got a man crush on his accent.
Absolutely, and I'll tag Wesley in this, and hopefully he watches it. But actually need to contact him. I'd love to get him on the show and talk to him because he's a charismatic dude, and he's got a great channel over there and a great clothing line and all that sort of stuff. So I'd love to get inside his head, and I'd love to see what actually he's going through right now with this whole thing and what's going on in his country where he's living. So that'd be really cool. But quickly before we wrap up the show, because we've been going a little bit long now, we asked the viewers to put out a few names what we could actually call this show, and Mick and I are going to sort of talk this out and what we might actually call it, because we need a name by next week. So
we need something.
Yeah, Steve Eves, he came up with Bodybuilding Bunker, which I actually quite like. I think that's cool. Like, it reminds me of like the NRL Bunker, which is like a review thing. I think Bodybuilding Bunker, like maybe if we called it like the weekly Bodybuilding Bunker, that's sort of cool. I sort of like that. Aussie Beef, which is Lee Carmichael, an Australian who actually, he lives in Japan now, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. He's been in Japan for a few years now, living the dream there apparently.
So he came up with the weekly word. Now, I like the weekly word. That sounds nice, but I'd want to add like maybe bodybuilding into it, like the bodybuilding weekly word or something. What do you think?
Yeah, okay. I'm just trying to think if it rolls off the tongue or right. Yeah.
Yeah. Bodybuilding weekly word. Yeah. Or, yeah. Because a weekly word, it sounds too broad, and people might go, weekly word on what, you know?
Weekly, it could be on anything, couldn't it? Weekly word. It sounds like the Daily Planet.
Yeah. Then we've got Target 725 saying the Crikey Muscle Report. I like that. That's funny.
Oh, dear.
I don't know if we call it that, but I like it. And Craig Winter came up with Xavier and Mick's perspective in bodybuilding. I think that's it's a good idea, but it's too wordy.
And it makes it sound old, Craig, honestly. I mean, I am old, but it makes it sound older.
That's funny. So what do you reckon? What are you liking? And then I think by the time we start the next episode, we'll be basically putting out the name of the show, and we'll thank whoever sort of had the closest name. And also, if you come up with any other names, put it in the comments. And if you want us to answer any questions on the next show on bodybuilding, or generally on bodybuilding, pretty much we'll keep it to, put them in the comments as well, and we'll answer like up to 3 questions a show as well.
Yeah, there's nothing better than listener questions, actually. I really enjoy that. So, yeah, anything bodybuilding relating, because we don't really know much about anything else, to be honest.
Yep.
So just please ask us that. I don't mind the bodybuilding bunker. I don't mind that. What was Lee's one again? The weekly word.
Yeah, weekly word.
But we need to add something to that, I think.
Yeah, it'd have to be the weekly word, or the bodybuilding, or the weekly word of bodybuilding. I don't know. The weekly word on bodybuilding.
Yeah. If there's anything else out there, roll them in, put them in, and Xavier and I will have a look through. But that's not too bad.
Yeah, I like the
We need
bodybuilding bunker or the weekly bodybuilding bunker because like I love the BB bodybuilding bunker. I don't know, I like that.
BB bodybuilding bunker. Was that how we're going to do it? Bodybuilding bunker.
Yeah, or the bodybuilding bunker, but then the logo could just be like BB and then like some
BB.
like bicep coming out the side or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I try to think how I could come up with a logo for this as well.
Yeah, I was thinking when you said that, I was thinking, how would that fit into something?
Maybe like a back to front B and then like a forward B and then some biceps coming out the side. I don't know.
Similar to have you seen the NPC, their logo with the two biceps?
Yeah, that's almost like the desktop bodybuilding logo because I've got a desktop, like a MacBook, and then it's got two biceps coming out the side. So.
Yeah, I get copyright with that.
Yeah. Well, I've never seen the NPC logo. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, you're okay.
But I actually didn't even think of that. But yeah, that's true. They do have that sort of thing going on. So yeah, let us know what you think in the comments about all that below. And we're going to talk a little bit about like, people shutting out certain bits of media and all that sort of stuff and trying to be positive and all that sort of stuff. We was actually going to say more about the actual getting up and getting dressed and like preparing yourself for the day because so many people at the moment are just literally just bumming around, feeling sorry for themselves, consuming media that's just like negative and getting themselves stressed out. So you actually mentioned before this, because you're doing a bit of work from home and you said you worked from home in the past, you actually get up and get dressed, put your shoes on, do your hair, all that sort of stuff. And I've been doing the same thing, man. Like I look like this, which isn't great. I just chucked a cap on and, got dressed and stuff like that. But I've done my teeth, I've done all that sort of stuff. It's not like I'm lounging around in my pajamas, like sitting here editing video. Because when I do that, I feel lazy and I've got more chance of procrastinating. I just know in myself that I'll procrastinate more if I don't set myself up for the day, if I don't do my normal morning routine. Because my normal morning routine is get up, have my apple cider vinegar. A lot of the time I'll go on my inversion table, invert for 3 minutes, just think about things. I either do that or go for a walk or both. So this morning I went for a walk with my partner, took my little baby boy along with me. And I just set myself up for the day, just thought about stuff. And my partner's actually, because she's not working at the moment, she's asking more about my work and it's motivating me more. And it's like almost like my work's improved from this whole issue that's going on. So what do you do, Mick? Like, what do you do in the morning? Do you just get ready or do you have any sort of morning routine to get your mind right?
Mate. And here's the problem. There's a lot of negativity on social media at the moment. And I understand that as well. But there's a lot of people I see in our industry, pros and amateurs, that are unfortunately been more negative than what I thought they would have been during this time where they should be more positive. But yeah, I'm the same. I used to do a lot of work from home. I'm lucky to be able to work from home. At the moment, work has slowed down here, which isn't good, but there's still a lot I can do. So I do wake up at the same time, have my shower, clothes on, hair done, all that sort of stuff. So it puts me in that right frame of mind straight away. I get to my desk, I do what I can straight away. And then I'm also now looking for what I can be doing once this passes, which it will, and set up for what we're going to do in the future. So that keeps me going as well throughout the day. I do what I can around the house as far as I've got my little circuit thing I do. So I try and do one body part a day. I can still get out of the house from cardio, but all those things are done at the same time every day.
Yeah.
And I go to bed at the same time. So I'm in that set routine, whereas unfortunately with people I know, more so back home, I know, a lot of people back home, they're not doing that. They're kind of wasting this time, Xavier. And if you think of it like this in a positive way, we could probably all come out of this better.
Yeah.
In thinking things in a different way, a lot more positivity. And there's so much stuff we can learn. Try to learn something that you've never done before. There's so much stuff on the internet that you could pick a topic or whatever, or a book or whatever you want to do, and do something you've never done.
Absolutely, man. One of the things I've thought of as well is like, even with people's training, people go, I can't train properly. I've only got bands. I've only got dumbbells or whatever. You can do a lot with a little. I've got, I went out and bought stuff. I was proactive. I even said to my partner, like when this was starting to kick off, I said, babe, they're going to close gyms here. I said, we should literally buy up a whole bunch of gym equipment and then sell it. And she goes, oh yeah. And she wasn't super keen. So I was like, because I was more, I knew gyms were going to close. I knew even before they closed in other countries. I said to her, they're not going to let people train. I said, it's just what's going to happen. And she was like, yeah, maybe they'll close, whatever. And then when it actually closed, she showed me an article saying like gym gear is being sold online for more and all that sort of stuff. And I was like, we should have done it earlier, but we actually found somewhere pretty good. I got a Smith machine. Like it's not a top of the line Smith machine, but I put some WD-40 on it, fixed it up, and it's running pretty smooth now. I can put plenty of weight on there and train pretty hard on it. Got a high cable, so you can do pull downs. It's got a low cable on it as well, so I can do curls or back movements. I've got a squat rack that I bought for $300. I got preacher curl. We already had a bench press. We already had some bars. Got some extensions and stuff like that, so we can do different movements. I got plenty, man. Like, I could do a contest prep in my backyard right now.
Yeah.
And it's funny, man, because I'm not training as hard now. It's actually perfect timing for me to go out there. I'm doing my little 45-minute workouts, pushing blood into muscle. I'll take the last set closer to failure. The other ones I'm not going too hard because I'm letting my body rest a little bit, training, maybe 4 days a week, if that. And just, keeping my body moving but not doing anything crazy. But I feel like I could go into a comp prep and prep in my backyard and probably come in my best ever.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
That's the thing. People come up with excuses. And if you can't do that, why don't you do something like, okay, well, my mobility's always sucked. I'm going to work on mobility and stretching and all that sort of stuff for half an hour a day or 45 minutes a day or 3 times a week or something. Do something different that you didn't have the time to do before that you wanted to do. But now when it comes to this situation, a lot of people are going, what do I do? And they just scroll Facebook and do nothing, or consume something that you can listen to this while you go and train outside, or you can, you can consume some sort of media that's going to improve you as well. Like, I'm going to learn about this. So when things do improve, I can do this. And I'm no expert, man. Like, that's just my opinion. And that's my sort of mindset with this whole thing. But I think, like you said, you can learn something new. You can read a book. You can do something you wouldn't normally do. And that could expand your horizons, actually improve you for when things do go back to normal. You've got something else in the bank, you've got something else and something else you can sort of, I suppose, leverage either in your business, in your fitness goals or whatever. Like, I just think this is an opportunity.
You're like me, and most of the friends we know, our close friends, are the same. You want to come out of this, whether it be 2 or 3 or 4 months, you want to come out of this firing. Like, you want to come out of this absolutely pumped and firing, not coming out of this. If you do nothing for 3 months and the band's lifted, you're going to be unmotivated. You're going to be down. You're going to be miserable, and it's going to take a while to shake yourself out of it. Do you know what I mean? So you need to absolutely be on the ball and come out of it. This is all I have.
Pro Gym Extreme.
But to be honest, it does the trick. I'm going just over 2.5 weeks on that. I can do pretty much everything I need to do. Unfortunately, nothing. Let's face it. You're lucky where you're at. Nothing's going to beat, free weights, that sort of stuff, those sort of things. But this is doing the job now where it's kind of, it's maintaining pretty much. It's, and I'm doing more cardio than what I normally do. So I feel better. I feel 10 times better than what I normally would. It's all,
And while we was talking about that, I'll put up a little video as well of my home little setup. And it's not much. Yes. It's not a lot of stuff. It's nothing fancy or anything like that. And, when I was using it the other day, we didn't have the right bolts to put on there. So I was using the Smith machine and it was like, I could see it going side to side. I was like, it's all good. Hopefully I don't die. So, but like I said, take advantage of this time. If you're low on money and struggling and stuff like that, there's things you can sell, I'm sure, in your house. If you've got a $3,000 bike or something about sitting around, there might be less buyers around, but put it up on, I don't know what we've got in America, but we've got a website called Gumtree where you can buy and sell things and stuff. Put it up like that. Do something. If you're creative, you can make something and sell it. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah. Like, there's options for everyone, and like, if you are able to get benefits and stuff like that while you're out of work, then okay, take those benefits and then try to do something positive, and it's going to actually better you and when you come out of it. So that's my opinion. I love what you said, Mick. Like, I totally agree with everything you've said. So that's just our advice. And if you are struggling like mentally, because some people do have mental health issues and stuff, and this is obviously probably made it a lot worse. The anxiety of not knowing what's going to go in the world if they've lost their job and stuff like that. Just reach out to someone. Like, there's other people going through stuff, and there's other people that have plenty of time right now that will have time to talk to you. Like, reach out to a mate, reach out to anyone. Comment below in my thing if you're struggling mentally, and someone might reach out to you and give you something that you need. So don't be afraid to actually reach out. I've had mental health issues in the past as well, and it's hard to sort of bring up and come out with that sort of stuff. But when you do, I feel like it's almost like it's a weight off your shoulders, like you can actually then talk about it, and it makes you feel a lot more comfortable about people actually even knowing about it. So Yeah, so if you do struggle with any of that sort of stuff, I'm hopefully all those Lifeline and all that sort of stuff is still available so people can ring them, and there's still volunteers doing that, because I'm sure a lot of people are struggling mentally right now.
Well said. That was really well said.
Yeah, thanks, man. Anyway, that's it for another episode. Make sure you comment. Let us know what you think about all these topics that we discussed today. We went way over today. We've gone about 45 minutes. So sorry about that. But I think it was worthwhile, and we talked about a lot of good stuff. So make sure, if you've got any questions for us, put them in the comments. If you've got any opinions on Dexter Jackson versus Shawn Ray, Gregg Valentino, I suppose, just to give your love to him. On dinosaur eggs, if you've had dinosaur eggs... let us know. And what do you think the odds are that the Olympia it will go ahead in 2020? I think it's about a 50-50 if it happens in 2020 at all. Yeah. Praying it's on the positive side of the 50-50. But what percentage odds would you give the Olympia, Mick?
Oh, I'm with you right now. I'm 50-50. I think if this gets dragged out to the end of April and they say, you know what, we're going to do May, I think they'll can it.
Yeah, sure. Okay, that's it for another episode of We Don't Know What It's Called Yet. For Xavier Wills, Michael Galley, if you like this content, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the notification bell button. That way you'll be notified of every video that goes up for myself, Xavier Wills, at Desktop Bodybuilding. That's it. For Xavier Wills, Michael Galley, we are out.